And our word for today on this memorial of Saint Francis of Assisi on this Friday, October the 4th, our word for today is here, H-E-A-R, here. We see it in our gospel reading today. We also see it in the gospel acclamation from Psalm 95:8. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. And then we see this example that Jesus clearly points out in the gospel reading today from the Gospel of John. Jesus said to them, "Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty deeds done in your midst had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would long ago have repented, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the judgment than for you. And as for you, Capernaum, will you be exalted to heaven? You will go down to the netherworld. Whoever listens to you listens to me. Whoever rejects you rejects me. And whoever rejects me rejects the one who sent me." The hearing that we're talking about here, brothers and sisters, is this hearing that comes forth because of the Spirit living within us. Not hearing as the world hears, not hearing because we have physical hearing, but hearing because we have the Spirit of God living within us, who instructs us in all things and becoming familiar with his voice, being able to discern his voice versus the voices of everyone else, including our own voices. When I get a phone call from my mother, I never have to ask who it is. When I get a phone call from my wife, I don't say, "I'm sorry, who's calling, please?" When I get a phone call from one of my children or a good friend, I never have to ask them who exactly they are. When I get a call from someone I've never talked to or someone that I talk to only on rare occasion, sometimes I have to say, "I'm sorry, but can you please tell me who this is? I'm not familiar with your voice. I'm not accustomed to hearing you." Brothers and sisters, that hearing the Holy Spirit might be like hearing someone that we are very familiar with, that it might be like hearing from a family member, that it might be like hearing from a good friend, because we are so accustomed to listening to that voice and so easily distinguishable when we are accustomed to hearing that voice, the familiarity of that voice. So many times I hear people say, "I don't hear God talking to me." No, you don't, because you have to be in regular conversation with him to begin to be familiar with how he speaks to you. There are particular ways that the Lord speaks to me. I know them as I engage in conversation with him, but I've also become very aware that it's not the way he speaks to anybody else or not the way he speaks to most other people. He knows how he needs to speak to each and every one of us. He knows the individual response that's going to come from us if he addresses us in a particular way. He has made us to hear his voice in a particular way. So reading books about how other people do it, I think it's wonderful to hear about other people's testimonials, to hear about other people's relationship with God. But I have to tell you, mine's kind of singular. My relationship with him is different than the relationships that I hear about when people write about their stories. And I'm guilty of writing such a book. But still, and I think those things can be encouraging, but we need to be aware that the way that the Lord speaks to us is so individualized. It's as individualized as our relationship with him is. And so we have to become accustomed to hearing the voice of our God, and that can only happen by regular conversation. Hear our word for today.